Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Good afternoon and welcome to Collaborative Connections radio show and podcast sponsored by KLM Consulting. I'm your host, Kelly Lorenz, and we're coming to you live from the Phoenix Business RadioX studio inside Max 6 in Tempe, Arizona. Collaborative Connections is a radio series created to bring entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and associations together to build relationships, foster collaboration, and grow a stronger community together. Our hope for today is that listeners and guests alike will walk away with a golden nugget or a new resource for their business. Today, I have the honor of being in the studio with three amazing people that I'd love to introduce you to. First off, Tony coming in from Zoom. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Tempe Tourism Office.
So I'm Tony Smith. I'm the Director of Communications for the Tempe Tourism Office. I've been there for a little over 19 years. The Tempe Tourism Office is a nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to marketing Tempe, Arizona as a visitor destination, both for leisure travelers and for business travelers as well. Our staff provides information to visitors, media professionals, and meeting planners about hotels in Tempe, restaurants, entertainment, and local points of interest.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to hear more about the Tempe Tourism Office. I knew Stephanie Nowak when she was there, but I haven't heard about it in a long time. So I'm thankful for you being on with us as a Tempe native. I can't wait to hear all about Tempe. Next,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next, coming Scott. Scott, I'm looking at you saying Scott. Isn't that bad, right? Scott.
That's how it's going to be.
Now you got us wondering who it's really going to be.
Scott McIntosh, Max 6. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Scott McIntosh, Max 6. We advocate capitalism as a force for good. That's our why. We do that through building better communities where people and businesses thrive. What we do is we've got spaces and programs for growing companies. The spaces is co-working spaces, co-manufacturing spaces, which I think is unique in the country still, waiting to be challenged on that. And then private office suites for growing companies. And we complement that with leadership programs, helping companies and individuals break through ceilings to growth.
Exciting. And you just launched the leadership program. It's
8 years ago, we started as an incubator, which we had learning and teaching, and it's evolved considerably since that time. And so we've had some new launches of some new programs. Yes.
Well, can't wait to hear about that. Thank you so much for joining us as a member of Max 6. I love being here and having you on the show. So thank you. Welcome, Eddie. Now, finally, it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, my partner is a Scott. And
I know.
And when we've had meetings with Scott, we just differentiate. I'll say Dr. Scott. And then I'll look at Scott.
I'm the other Scott.
Yeah, the other Scott. So Eddie Fredericks, co-founder and managing director of Working Aware. All the guidance for CDC, OSHA, and Arizona Department of Health Service says that your business should have an infection control plan, but the guidance can be vague, sometimes inconsistent. With the help of my partner, Dr. Scott Ostek, who has 20 years of being an infectious disease physician, director of infection control programs at hospitals like Phoenix Children's Hospital. We help companies make their workspaces safer. We are also a member of Max 6, love working here. Great kind of serendipity of getting together. But we work and help companies in a post-pandemic situation reopen for events, trainings, different workplace certifications. And so it's a great opportunity. I'm excited because I've got two people. We love Tempe and we're hyper local with what we're doing right now. And so Scott and Max 6 do so much with local business, Tempe Chamber, and entrepreneurship. I've heard a lot about the Tempe tourism from some folks I've worked with, and I'm excited to hear a lot more. And so this is a great connection.
I'm excited. And as a client of mine, I love highlighting you and your business. I think the work you're doing is amazing. There's a lot of businesses, not even just in Tempe, but all over that don't know, right? This is all new to everybody. And so to have you guys as a resource is huge for people.
Well, and just to plug you too, to have you as a resource, I think I called you a Snuggie for my brain at one point. Having, and again, that's what Max 6 does, having this collection and collaboration of people and different experts and the ability to I found out about you through Tempe Chamber as well as Max 6. And so you get those connections, all the people we meet. It's so important, and you give us the ability to do things that are out of our wheelhouse. And rather than do I need to hire an entire team to do the types of things that I can have your company do for me a lot more effectively and a lot less expensive than making 3-4 hires. I mean, I've done that. Maybe we do that, but I don't think we need to.
Yeah, it's nice. I love this business just for that reason. I get to help people build their businesses instead of me just keep opening new businesses, right? Like, this is so much better. I get to grow all these different kinds of businesses and connect each other and do business with people that I like,
Yeah.
So it's been really fun. So let's jump right into it. Tony, we've been alluding to this, but a lot of us are been in Tempe a long time, natives. We do business in Tempe. We know about the city of Tempe. We're part of Tempe Chamber, but Tempe tourism, for some reason, is just a little bit on the outer circle. So, for us, so I would love to hear what exactly the Tempe Tourism Office does.
So that's partly by design, because most of our marketing is to people from outside of the state. So a lot of times you'll say, oh, I work for the Tempe Tourism Office. And they'll say, oh, how is it the chamber? I'm like, nope. They're fine, but it's a totally different office. So we are really a marketing arm for the city that's solely focused on bringing in people from outside, visitors from, our main target areas in a typical year are California, the Bay Area, Chicago, Pacific Northwest, a lot of places that have weather that isn't quite as enviable as ours is, January, February, March. So our goal is to really make sure that Tempe is part of the conversation. If people are thinking about getting away to a warm, sunny destination, are they thinking Florida? Are they thinking Arizona? And if they're thinking Arizona, maybe they've heard of Phoenix, they know the Grand Canyon, but how can we get Tempe in the mix and get them thinking that, hey, there's another place to stay that's really close to the airport that sounds like it has a lot of great things to do. So that's our job, is to educate potential visitors about our city.
That's great. And do you work with businesses as well, besides tourism for personal reasons for vacationing?
So that's there are many reasons why 2020 was very difficult, but one of them is because a lot of our hotels do rely on not just business conferences and meetings, but those individual business travelers. So, the salespeople who go out, and have a 2 or 3 night stay, someone who comes to Tempe because they have a meeting or they're doing something at ASU. That's the type of business that is really important to some of our hotel properties. So we're hoping that there's some recovery for business travel. Right now, it's pretty much all leisure.
Oh, okay. Well, the people are starting to come full circle, in some of the aspects I can tell, but probably not all of it yet.
Well, we have seen we do have a group sales department, and we can kind of tell some of the activity based on how many leads that they're receiving. So when a meeting planner is looking to book a conference or a meeting, they'll find the hotels in Tempe that fit those specifications. So they're starting to get more of those requests from meeting planners. So that's a good sign. I think that people, in the absence of not being able to see many people over the last 14 months, I think people are looking forward to getting back together again.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I know I am. Scott, tell us a little bit more about Max 6. And I love Max 6, but for those who don't know about you and your manufacturing space and your co-working space, and tell us the why. Tell us, tell us your why and how you fit into the Tempe community.
Okay, go back to the why. The why is advocating capitalism as a force for good. What has that got to do with a co-working space? And it's just my very quick backstory is I was an engineer. I grew a business. I sold a business and had a big financial win and awoke to a world in which, hey, I thought the business people were the heroes of the story. And this was 2008, 2010. And it's changed even more now. But instead, through bad stories out of Wall Street and giving capitalism a bad name, I come with a fundamental belief, as there's conscious capitalism on the wall here, that capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any other socioeconomic system ever conceived. And so that's really the why behind it. But the how we do that is I don't do politics. And so I started how do I foster entrepreneurship? How do I get to youth and tell the story about business as a force for good? And so I was doing junior achievement and various other things. And my son Kyle and I, who got together and we created initially MaxX as an incubator, 10,000 square feet in the space that we're in right now. And really, it's fostering good business as a force for good. And it's funny that the space we have is a commodity. I mean, you can go, there's lots of places to go and get space. But as we focus on growing businesses, people doing business the right way, it's a space, it's more of a place than a space. And Kelly, something you said early on kind of your why and just my personal why, and I think for Kyle and I, is the space is a commodity, but what I enjoy is watching companies grow and working with Eddie and Scott, and they've launched a new business here. And yeah, we're a customer and all that stuff, but how can we help these guys? How can we help you, Kelly? How can we help Karen? How can we help any of the businesses? Yeah, they're paying us rent, and that's a transaction. But my personal fulfillment is in watching entrepreneurs and businesses grow, and that really kind of goes to a why behind Max6 as well.
I love that. And that's exactly why I became a member. I saw that right off is, you want to surround yourself with people that you like and that you feel the same about business and being around your people, quote unquote. And I love that about Max6. You're right. It's transactional in that you can, rent space, but everything else is more than that. It's the community, it's the collaboration and all of it. And I just found out of it just because I was a guest on Karen's show coming in studio. The more I was here, the more I fell in love with it. So I'm just happy to have found it, especially in Tempe, so close to home.
Yeah. Just say one other thing, maybe this will segue to Eddie, is it's been interesting over the past year in pandemic. We have real estate and we have 110,000 square feet of office space. Nobody's home. And so through pandemic and everybody's working from home, and it's been, we've got people who've been paying us rent for a year and they haven't been here. And so we have done a lot to, how can we help? And without going into all of that story, but as it's been an interesting year. The exciting thing is people are starting to come back to work. People that have been paying rent for a year and not been here. We've got new people coming in. It's an exciting time. And, thank you very much to Eddie and Scott and Working Aware, as this is before we knew the miracle of the vaccines and how long is this going to go on, as we're creating safe working places for people as people want to come back. People are yearning to come back. And so that was, we'll let Eddie tell more of the story, but that's been a tremendous help for us as we are tuning up and elevating our game as we have this commodity, we have this space, and we need to do the best job we can to welcome our community members back in as they get comfortable to get back to these spaces.
That's a huge benefit for members, I know, and I would assume so for hotels and businesses, and for Tempe Tourism, is just to know that you are aware, and that there are protocols that should be followed, and having the resource like Working Aware to be able to do that. So on that note, Eddie, tell us a little more about your why and why you started Working Aware with Scott.
Yeah, and let me just backtrack quick on something Scott said, because I do want to bring it up. As much as I 100% agree, it's so much more than the transactional. I will say last year before we started Working Aware, I was actually researching. I know almost all the co-working spaces here in town. I've been to them. I actually have memberships in other ones that I go to or see. And Max6 is way more. Like there's no gym in any of the other places that we go to. There's no wellness space. I mean, the things that you guys have, even on a transactional level, actually do far exceed other people out there on just that space. So You guys are amazing, but I agree. It's that having people, and even when we first met and started chatting, and it's inspiring to be with other people that care about doing business for good, and that being around those people, they inspire you to do better. So there's so much, but this place does. You guys should toot that horn a little bit more, because the space is amazing. We love working here, regardless of the business that we do. It's a great space. And today, being in the first time since we've worked with you on the policy and being in and being able to see people's lovely faces, and it was great. It's been exciting. So it's a very exciting day today. But so talking about Working Aware, Dr. Scott Ostick, my business partner, has been the serendipity of it. He's an infectious disease physician. He's been practicing here. He's pediatric infectious disease. He works him and his partners, they have a group and they work all over the valley. So he's an active physician, and he was the director of infection control at PCH for over 18 years, has worked in situations where he's helping at a hospital tertiary care facility manage infection control programs and making places safer. We've been friends for 10 years, met with our kids who were in preschool. Actually, we're helping that same preschool now is about to become certified with us soon, Desert Sun. We've been working with them to help in their program. And we came together and he called me. We have a lot of soccer bets that we do, and I owed him a lot of lunches. I think I still owe him some lunches for bets I've lost. And I think he wanted to get paid up on those. So he said, let's help some restaurants open. It was purely selfish to win his bets back. And so then we talked about this as a business. And to the point about the miracle vaccine, we started talking originally before the vaccine, but one of the things that was important for us when we were talking about the why of this business is we didn't want to just jump in and create a company that was just going to look short term at this. Infection control and health and wellness in a workplace setting has been important for a long time, and it's saved companies that have done this well and looked at how do we reduce workplace illness, make it safer for our customers, our employees, have saved money and done better. Even 2017, 2018, influenza caused a 10% increase in mortality. That was it. Now in the pandemic, I think it's like there was like a 500% increase. So we see now more than ever, it just makes it an easier conversation to have, but there's still a lot of education, I think, that needs to be done. And what's great about what we're doing and working with people is we're attracting also like-minded people. So the capitalism as a force for good in business, that was what we wanted to do. So when we started talking with you, Scott, all the feels were happening for us. We were excited. And all the clients that we work with are people that feel the same way. They're thinking about their workforce and they're not thinking, and I think Scott even said, he's like, well, there's what do we have to do? And then there's what's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And we are so lucky to work with companies that's the way they think. And so we started this company and it's been evolving and growing, and it's been exciting to have a workplace that we feel comfortable with and have partnership with Max 6. Being on this podcast with you, we're going to be on June 4th, where Tempe Chamber's Emerging Issues web seminar about SB 1337. So it's pretty exciting. We're getting a chance to have a lot of opportunities.
And so if somebody is thinking about, okay, opening back up, or they've been open this whole time, but they're, oh my gosh, now we have all our employees coming back, and there's so many guidelines, and there's so much coming out from the CDC and OSHA and all those. There's no way for a normal business person, a normal business owner to keep up with all that. So what then? What do you do?
So, and as much as I'd love for everyone to contact us, I know there are some companies that don't have the time or money, and we're trying to help. We've been doing some pro bono work with a lot of small businesses and nonprofits, but, companies can do the research and there's guidance out there, and we try to help people that need that. But having the ability to have an infectious disease physician with that kind of expertise to go through the information, part of it is understanding the science and about COVID-19 and the infections and why this particular virus does what it does. But there's also other infections that people can get, whether it's regular just rotavirus and other influenza. But once you understand the background of how these spread, it can then help inform the guidance, because the guidance should be vague. And we don't want a situation where there's mandated overreach of guidance or people having to do regulations. It's better when companies are being proactive. But all the guidance explicitly states, CDC, OSHA, as well as the AZDHS, which was an executive order, you need to have a personalized plan. Mm-hmm. So when we met with, Scott's team, that whole team came with a personalized plan that works for their business, that is thoughtful to the specific business workplace. And so companies can contact us. We can do an on-site assessment. We can work with them, whether it's an event planning, if they just need to have trainings. We're getting pretty close to being able to launch digital training modules where people can just come in and they can have this is going to be really exciting, because we've been doing this individually, and we've been doing it so many times. We're now putting it so that people can just download them. And even better, let's say one of the companies we're working with is 200 people, hand training 200 people is very laborious. And so if the administrator at that business can then just be able to assign the modules to the team and then track that they've done them and they have that education, it's a big step to being either certified or just having an aware workplace. So
yeah, that's great. For the Tempe tourism office, how did you guys have to shift during the pandemic?
We had to shift everything really, because as a marketing organization who's trying to bring in people from out of town early on in the pandemic, we couldn't do any of that work. So really what we had to do was just rethink everything that we were doing. And it really came down to how do we still promote local businesses and make sure that they're still here by the time that the tourism industry recovers. So we really tried to promote as much as we could to locals, whether that's shops, restaurants, small businesses, even our hotels, because our hotels were really hurting too. So we added a lot of content to our website that was directed at locals, things like a comprehensive list of all the restaurants that had takeout and curbside, because for a while, restaurants were closed. It's hard to remember that because we've had so many phases, I feel like, in the pandemic. But just, being able to provide that type of information, having a blog post about how to support local merchants, how to support, if you used to go to the 6th Street Market or the Tempe Festival of the Arts, how can you support those artists? Because those festivals were obviously not happening. And then we tried to produce as much video and social content as we could to promote those local businesses. So we grew our TikTok following from 100 in July of 2020 to now almost a little over 18,000. So all those videos a lot of them are restaurant-based. A lot of them are different activities. A lot of the outdoor activities could still happen in the area during the pandemic. So things like horseback riding at Coley Equestrian Center or boating at Tempe Town Lake. They were sanitizing all the boats after each person used them, promoting hiking trails, those sorts of things that people could still do and give themselves a mental break, and then hopefully get takeout from a restaurant on their way home as well.
And will you carry that? Do you think the Tempe Tourism Office, now that things start to open up again, will you carry that forward? Will the local businesses be able to count on you guys for that continued, push?
That's something that we've talked about, because one of, I think, the silver linings of the pandemic for us is that we were able to develop more of those relationships with local businesses, where sometimes I think our marketing relied on the big events that were coming, spring training and the Festival of the Arts and the Innings Festival and those things. Instead, we had to promote things that were smaller and things that were more local. And I think what makes a place special, a place like Tempe, is obviously what you can do. And the fact that there's a mountain in the middle of the downtown and a lake is pretty cool. But it's really the people here who own businesses. That's really the character of the city. So we really want to continue that and make sure that locals can see us as a resource for things to do and places to try.
I love that. That is so great. And I bet you learned a lot about a lot of businesses that probably weren't on your radar before the pandemic in Tempe.
For sure. And I think all of us, you think, oh, I'm going to get to that new taco place down the street, and you just don't. And then all of a sudden it's been 2 years and you're like, oh, shoot, it must be good. I should really go try it. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely helped us make a lot of connections and really try to find ways that we could promote businesses. There's one in particular, Rowan Tree and Jasmine Joe. It's a flower shop and coffee shop that's at Mill and Baseline. And we just thought it was really cool that it was a flower shop and had a coffee shop in the middle of it. So we did a TikTok video there, and it did really, really well. And I actually stopped in a couple of weeks ago, and I said to the girl working, I said, oh, I work for the Tempe Tourism Office. And she said, oh, I know who you are. And I said, oh, you do? And she said, well, when I first started, you had just put the TikTok video online. And the woman who was training me said, well, we're usually not this busy, but Tempe Tourism just put a TikTok video up about us, and we've had all these new customers. I'm like, that is awesome. I love to hear that.
That is so great. Kudos to you guys. What a immediate, gratification for them to see that, hey, there's one more person in Tempe, one more organization that wants us to survive and thrive.
Right.
And I love that.
And what a great city we have. There's so many hidden gems like that we all need to support.
And I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know that business, so now I'm going to have to go check it out.
We'll have our next meeting there, Kelly. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good. Scott, what about you guys? How are you supporting? I know you talked about it a little bit, but tell us moving forward, how do you see your company supporting local businesses and the Tempe in general?
Well, we're located in Tempe, and we're not a WeWork, and there are probably 40 some co-working and office spaces across the valley, and location on real estate. And we're in Tempe. We have one location, and we have some expansion plans in the future. But Tempe has just been an amazing place to work. Early on, we had some collaboration with ASU, and we still do as we started our light manufacturing. That facility came as an idea from ASU, where there was a program, I think it was called Edson at ASU, and some money for startups at ASU that we're starting. And the gentleman's name was Gordon McConnell, who's left now, but there's startups at ASU that are making tangible products. And what do? It's fine if you've got a business that is the next great app or Facebook and you're sitting at a computer, but what if you're manufacturing a tangible product? And so they were looking for something to do for a manufacturing space. And we had some ideas and we're trying to help, and nothing was happening. And we went and bought a building, and the price was right. I came out of the mining industry, and manufacturing and mining are two very different things. But I just out of that industry, although I was an engineer and we did professional work, I loved getting my hands dirty. And so to supporting entrepreneurs who are making real things, that's where that came from. And that's Tempe. There's just so many opportunities here in the city, and so much support. And whether it's ASU or the city or the Tempe Chamber, as we are doing things here, it's the city of Tempe, and this is I mentioned Jill Bushbacher and Donna Kennedy. Just as we've learned recently, as the city is growing up, there's a homeless issue here that is developing, and we've got some of that right on our back steps. The relationship we've had with the city of Tempe, Human Services, city police, economic development, and I want to find out more about tourism. As there's a hotel that may be part of an issue here. We have such a proactive, positive plan to not just kick people out, but to do some other things here. And the city's just been amazingly cooperative, and we just love being here and support we get. And if we can help other businesses in Tempe grow, that's what we do. What great synergy.
It is great. That is great to hear. What does the future look like for Mac 6?
Well, it's very exciting now that we're in the final stages of endgame of COVID, and there's still lots of things going on. Getting people back in the spaces, and spaces coming back to life again. It's been kind of lonely around here as people working from home. So step one is getting people back in and filling up spaces again, and longer term after that, really the plan for Mac 6 is not to have additional physical Mac 6 locations that we own, but we've got a model we're going to look to help others. Many others are looking to start co-working spaces, or there may be building owners who have spaces that are underutilized, and hey, let's put a co-working space in there. We have figured a whole lot out. We're putting those things into processes, and we're going to be looking to how do we help others, whether it's building owners or somebody who wants to start a space to start their spaces, and they can brand it as Mac 6, or we can white label or whatever. That'll be starting in 2022 is what our real expansion is, to take both the brand we've built and yes, it's a commodity, and we focus on people. We focus on health and wellness and people, and for all of us, and whether it's the hotel and tourism, it's all people everywhere, and that's what we're going to do more of. And instead of just doing it all ourselves, Kelly, kind of what you talked, how can we help others create spaces that are doing the same things that we are? That's the future for Mac 6.
That's exciting. I would love to have see more industrial space for creating things. I mean, wouldn't that be cool if there was other, they're the only ones that I know. When we own a commercial electrical business, and we were trying to decide about lighting, and do we have a place to house, the pallets of lights from China, or do, so that we can sell them that way, and we need some, space to rent out of it, so and you guys were the only one, and what a cool combination that you could have both, but to hear about the businesses that are from ASU or not, but in Tempe that are actually making things like the Refresh glass that's in there that I've won some of their glasses they make out of wine bottles. They collect all the wine bottles and make glass. So I was so excited that I won that basket at the chamber. Well, I bid high enough, I should say, that I got their glasses.
Well, stay tuned. This is another talk about City of Tempe. It's a U.S., maybe global initiative called micromanufacturing. Micromanufacturing is not miniature, but it is manufacturing in small lots. And this is the coming future where as instead of sending all of our manufacturing off to China, how do we manufacture in small lots and customize? And I just learned about this, but there is stay tuned. We need to come back in June because there's a major initiative through the city of Tempe that we and some others are a part of to expand this micro manufacturing concept. And Park Lane is essentially full, but as we've talked, there's more buildings over there, and there's some things we can figure out. Yes, it's how do we help foster more manufacturing in the city of Tempe?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Keep it hyper local to have that here and be able to use the stuff from, let's say, hotels, like that with wine bottles, and then coming, and then doing and manufacturing it right here. What a cool thing. The longer I'm here, the more I love Tempe.
Yeah, well, the barriers, having worked in manufacturing, the barriers to entry are very high. And what you guys provide, not only for just entrepreneur, like a business at Max6, a barrier for me to start a business here, it makes it so much easier. But in manufacturing, those hurdles are really high sometimes. And so it's pretty cool what you can do.
Yeah. We created a unique space. It took a while to figure it out. It took a few years to figure it out and the financial model and how it works. But if anybody hasn't visited our Park Lane manufacturing, it's sort of a very unique place. And we're going to start doing some, as things open up, student tours through there. As most younger youth, they have no idea. They go to the store and you see a product on the shelf, and we've got companies over there making things, and you can go through and see what it really takes to get your hands dirty and make real things.
Which we need more of, right? But all these kids are going into TikTok, making TikTok videos, right? We need people to actually physically work and have the trades and have them make things, right? Or we're all going to be in big trouble if we don't get some more kids in the trades, right?
One thing we're seeing that I think is cool that Max6 is really helping too is, so you touched upon it. There's certain, obviously, hospitality or restaurants, you have to have those people physically in those positions. But we're seeing a trend with a lot of the businesses we're helping that they are forever changed and they're going to hybrid models. And even businesses that have their own HQs or headquarters, we know we're talking to, and they may have been hesitant to want to move to that kind of a model prior to the pandemic, but they've ripped the Band-Aid off, and now there's questioning, do we even go back to that? And I think you guys provide that kind of opportunity where people are saying, well, we still have our office, but we don't need to have everybody come. And sometimes it's better to have, areas where people that live in the East Valley can go to an East Valley office. And Scott, what about that? You guys are seeing a lot more of that, I'm sure. And I think the future is people are looking at co-working is not just about maybe what it was a year ago. I think there's a change in the way people are looking at utilizing those kind of shared spaces.
The big thing we are looking at as and large businesses, small businesses, what does the future of work look like? And is it working in the office? Is it working from home? There's been some amazing productivities working from home. But that human connection, and as we're seeing it, we've been very effective working from home, and this is something all businesses are going through. And so it's flexibility. And so as our type of space, and we're not unique. There's plenty of spaces that do this, but as everybody is figuring out as a business that wasn't an office, and what's the right combination for people working from home, working in an office, what kind of space needs do people have? And so that's where I don't have answers because we're inventing the future as we go, but it's going to be a hybrid future. That's kind of the word now, and we're figuring out that future right now. And I'm sure tourism is going to be the same thing as people are dipping their toes into the water of coming to an office space. They're dipping their toes into more and more travel, and I'm sure the hotels have been doing a great job. The restaurants have been doing a great job that I have seen, and kind of meeting people where they are. And some restaurants and hotels may have mask rules, and others may not. And meeting people where they are in various places as all of us figure this out.
Tony, you had mentioned about the shift to leisure travel versus business. Do you see? I wonder if there'll be, with the flexibility we have to work now, and I did a lot of calls from the pool last year, and the only thing that I found out was that if my phone got too hot, it would shut off. And so I was Zooming while in the pool with the video off, and I had to say, oh, sorry, my phone died. I didn't say that it was so hot because it's Arizona and I was by my pool. But I'm wondering if is there a shift with some of the hospitality or leisure to look at more leisure travel, or more of that people coming in using Tempe, not just for business, but since they can be more flexible, maybe coming here more out of the year to do some work?
Oh, we lost you a second. No, we're technical. I know, it's okay. We'll come back to you. I know all of this. Speaking of technology and working where we are, right?
The hybrid.
That was a good transition.
So look, while we're waiting for Tony to get back here, and just I want to bring something back to Working Aware, and we'll tie this into, I think, with Tempe tourism, but. Eddie, as you talked about the process and working with Dr. Scott, the infectious disease expert, and a little bit concerned, somebody out there might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be onerous and we're going to do all this stuff. Our experience working with you guys, the magic of it was, as there's so much CDC saying one thing one day, another thing another day, masks work, masks don't work, whatever, is just such a challenge. And so the first huge benefit to us was just having you and Scott to be able to talk with. And your support of us was, end of the day, we needed to make our decisions for our community. What was the best decisions that we could make? And the certification process was not you telling us you have to do these things. End of the day, it was what you wanted us to see us have was some consistency. So anybody coming into our space knew what the rules are, they could decide to participate or not. And that sort of thing, I think hotels, restaurants, anybody, I'd like to go to, I heard story the other day, and somebody went into Costco and they weren't sure what the rules were. Okay, that's a problem. You have helped us so much, and it was a relatively very painless process to help us through that. On Monday we met, and we're on the cusp of getting our certification. And the week before, we decided, okay, we are going to go. Masks are optional for various reasons. And Kyle and I are thinking, is Eddie and Scott going to fire us? Are they're and we had a great conversation around that and the rationale. And what you pushed us to do was to let's make sure we are consistent and communicating well around what you're doing, and then have a plan to monitor that and do what you're saying you're going to do. And I'm just saying that to anybody who may be concerned. And I think this any hotels, restaurants, any of the tourism industry who may have concerns. What are we doing? This process, and any advice was it was not onerous at all, and it was just very helpful, and how we meet our customers where they are.
I appreciate. I know the pain was probably just having me in meetings hearing me talk most of the time. So I appreciate it, and to that point, Scott, part of this we never wanted to be mask police or have that. Part of this is making sure that you understand the science of the guidance. We have a checklist, and it's pretty rigorous that we go through, but there's a lot of ways to do things, and it's just being thoughtful. And to your guys' credit and the folks that we work with, you guys really embraced that process and looked at it and said, well, how does this work for our community? And there's a lot of different ways to do things, and it has to be intentional, and it has to be work for your business, or else, we can make it perfectly safe where no one comes in here, and but that's not good for the business,
Yeah, and we are certified. That doesn't mean we're guaranteeing nobody's ever going to get sick. We are guaranteeing that we are doing everything we can to create a healthful environment and helping people take their own personal responsibility for the choices they're making as they operate here. And I think that's the same thing. I don't know if we have Tony back or not yet, but I think the same thing that hotels, restaurants, everybody else, I think, are trying to do the same sorts of things.
That's exactly true. And I think even when it comes to meetings, when people start going to conferences again, I think hotels are still looking at how they can have that hybrid model. Like, some people will want to be in person, some people won't. So how can the hotels adjust their audiovisual capabilities in order to accommodate what people are comfortable doing. One of the things that we did, I think it was during the summer, is we started a Tempe's Travel Safely checklist, and really just providing that information so people knew the type of cleaning and safety protocols that were happening at hotels and restaurants and attractions. So if someone was looking for that type of information, if that's what they needed in order to decide to come to Tempe, then we would provide that. And the hotels obviously did a great job trying to figure out how to clean all the high touch surfaces and sanitize things. Make sure that Hilton, I know, has a clean stay program where they put a sticker on the door, so you know that it's been cleaned and no one has been in there since that sticker was placed. So anything that we can do, even going forward, I think, we're all going to have the memories of what it was like living through a pandemic. So how do we continue to make sure that people feel safe? And I think the fact that Tempe has an abundance of outdoor activities is really going to help us as well. You can be in the middle of the city, but still, get out and go on a hiking trail or go on the lake and have a little bit of that outside space that makes us feel a little safer too.
And the restaurants having more outside seating, a lot of them expanded. My husband in the construction industry was like, oh my gosh, the amount of permits that are being pulled for outside seating was out of control, which is good, but bad, right? If you're like trying to get your jobs done, and you're like, okay, now there's a backup because we have all this happening,
But it was great for the city of Tempe to take away the fees for those extension permits and to allow people to have those expanded outdoor patios for longer. I think anything that we can do to help support them during those really tough times really helped out.
Yeah, I really think so. Tony, you, speaking of Tempe, tell us the must-see places. Well, now I know one, a flower shop and coffee. Like, I'm there.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think we like to talk about Tempe as a place that has unexpected moments. And I think for people who live here, you don't even think about the fact that we have a mountain in the middle of our downtown. Like, you can go hiking and then walk down and have lunch. Like, how awesome is that? And then when you're done with lunch, you can go to the lake and you can go paddleboarding or go on a kayak. Like, that's amazing. People who come here from other places are shocked if they don't really know what a desert is. So it's a lot greener. There's a lot more trees. Like, I think they're expecting, I don't know, the Sahara or something. That's not what it is. So, I mean, I think ASU is obviously such a big part of Tempe. I think a walk through the ASU Tempe campus is amazing. We have a Frank Lloyd Wright Design Theater and ASU Gamage. ASU Art Museum, I think, is a hidden gem right there at Mill and 10th. It's free. It has contemporary art from all over the world. It has the largest art collection from Cuba anywhere. It's just such an amazing place. And then downtown, you have kind of that mix of the historical downtown and the buildings that date back to the early 1900s and even before that. And then you have these new modern high-rises that are going in next to that, hiking and ASU and the lake. It's really such a unique place.
Well, I'm going to have to pick your brain. I didn't even know about that on Mill and 10th either.
Gamage just
Don't even get me started about restaurants. I could go on about that for an hour.
Gamage just sent out all the listings. They have some shows in the fall that they sent out the season ticket scheduling of I can't wait. I can't wait to go back to Gamage or downtown. I used to work in restaurants in downtown Mill, and the nights that the theater was on and people being down there and just the whole crowd. Tempe is awesome. It's really fun to go down there. And
it's a really good synergy.
Yeah. We'll just add one, which is my wife and I are road bikers, bicycle, and so we do some long trips. But Tempe's got some amazing bike paths and the canal system that's through the city. And from Tempe Town Lake west toward the airport, there's a path you can go kind of 8 miles out and back, and just all on path that's been built there, and no traffic. Some strollers and walkers out there. But Tempe's had a great job for people that are biking around the city.
So one of my favorite fun facts is Tempe is a 40 square mile city with 217 miles of bike pathways.
Oh,
I mean, that tells you something that's definitely a priority. And hopefully more people will. It's actually one of the cities that people commute to work. It's a small percentage. It's under 5%, I think, but that's still pretty good for a city of our size. So hopefully that'll continue.
Oh, I love that for my environmental child who is all about I had to buy a hybrid, because of these next generation, right? Which is good. They're my moral compass, but he'll be excited to hear about all the bike paths and people using it and pushing towards that. So that's exciting. So tell us, Eddie, moving forward, what are businesses Can you give us maybe 3 things that businesses can do right now, moving forward into this new?
Yeah, well, and what's great too, and what I love is that moving towards the future, it's almost helped us to have the masks not be an issue anymore. So it's not just talking about masks; it's just talking about how do we have a safer workplace? How do we work? I mean, so first of all, and we'll be putting out some webinars, and we'll probably get some content and some checklists that we'll send to you that you can send out to people and make available. We're going to be providing some checklists that people can see, so they can do their own assessment of what they should be looking at. But people should have an individualized plan. You should be looking from the front door, where you walk in, to the back door where things are going into your facility, all the touch points where people are interacting, and you should have a plan that's personalized for your business that looks at infection control. At a minimum, it's you need to do it, and people should be doing that and looking at how their policies in place for their employees for sick leave. I mean, early on, one of the earlier companies I work with has been fantastic. 24 Carats. They were so amazing in how they made sure that their staff had time and sick time, and they were covering for each other. And businesses should be looking at how they're treating their employees and giving them time off for illness. I mean, I've worked in manufacturing and dietary supplements for years, and so it was pretty hardcore. If you were sick, you weren't coming into the office because we were working with things that people were ingesting. But I think businesses need to just be more thoughtful about that, and to work with us or others that can help them come up with those plans, and to just train their employees to make sure that they're knowledgeable and understand what's going on. I mean, unfortunately, there's been a lot of politicalization of different facts and scientific experts. So science, it was interesting. We talked to Central Arizona Project today about water at Tempe Sustainability, and they talked about, well, everyone that's there, it's not political. We know we're having issues with climate change and water. Smart Arizonans know that water is an issue. Well, I think people that are in business know that employee health is an issue, and infection control, they see how it affects. So those are the kind of things people should be doing, and we'd love to help. We're just a phone call away, or just can click on our website to get a calendar appointment.
I'd just add something a little bit to that, as really, without saying COVID is over, because still there's, globally, but we here in Arizona in particular are moving to a post-COVID world. And so really our most recent conversations and thinking about that is, office environments, traditionally, the air quality is not great. It's recirculated air, and you get into flu season, and so really our thinking is starting to move into that world. Is let's tune up our game, and so with the help of Eddie and Scott, we're purchasing HEPA filter fans, relatively economical, and putting them in the common areas to just have some cleaner airflow through the spaces. If you're sick, stay home, or go home. And that when I grew up working, and I don't care if I have the flu or whatever, and I never missed a day of work. And that's not necessarily the right thing, especially in this world, that it is so in an office environment easy to work from home. And so as we move forward, and I think the future of what you guys are doing have helped us with is, in flu season when it comes, is there'll be some different things going on. And some people may want to wear masks, but we're going to have our hygiene, we're going to have our HEPA filters and more in this general office environment. I think the same thing applies to hotels. We don't want to go back to the lockdown at all, but we don't necessarily want to go back to exactly what we were doing. And so I'm looking at 2021 for all of us, whether it's an office, light manufacturing, hotels, all of us, is, how do we have the best of both? Is that personal contact and out and doing things, yet practicing a little bit safer at the same time.
And you talked about, Tony, the checklist for hotels, people who want to come to businesses in Tempe. To Scott's point, can somebody find that on your website to see like who's doing what? The HEPA filters, like the airlines were doing, cleaning the air. I felt like I was so clean the last time I went on the airplane. Like, why don't I smell, like the airplane?
So we do have a COVID-19 tab on the top of our website. It's TempeTourism.com. And it's something that we developed over the summer, really when people weren't able to travel that much. Some of the things on there may have changed since then. That was back when we had a mask ordinance in Tempe as well. So there's some mention of that too. But it just really kind of goes through and really makes you think. I mean, Eddie and Scott, you were talking about this. I think we're also aware now of how disease can spread and what we can do to prevent that from happening. So everything from, making sure that a front desk is kept clean, or not having reusable menus at a restaurant, like those sorts of things. Those are some shifts that have been made in the hospitality industry that probably will continue.
Yeah, I love that. And that no menus helps for the environment again, right?
Exactly. It all comes back to that, right?
The only negative is for marketing purposes, you can't have the branding in front of you on the menu. Darn it.
That's what TikTok is for. It's fine.
Scott, on another topic, you have mentioned a couple times doing good business, conscious capitalism. Can you, for people who don't know anything about that, you're a big proponent of that. And can you give a quick synopsis of conscious capitalism and why and how businesses can do good business?
Yeah. So first, as I've been told by many finance professors and others, there's nothing profound about conscious capitalism. Nothing. That said, deeper thinking around how we do business is very difficult. And the most simple thing, the way to explain it is doing business with a long-term focus versus a short-term focus. If I'm thinking short-term, and this is too much of Wall Street with quarterly pressures, if you're my employees, I pay you less, I make more money. The math is clear. And the math is just very easy. In conscious capitalism, or really long-term thinking, is I pay you more, not because I'm altruistic, but because I invest in you and your productivity increases. And so it's a win-win for everybody. And so nothing to do with altruism. I don't even believe in altruism, which is another topic maybe. But it's so conscious capitalism. I almost hate the idea that we have to tack another word on the front of capitalism. I'm a hardcore capitalist. But business truly as a force for good, lifting all ships, has lifted more people out of poverty than any other socioeconomic system. Globally, this is true. In the U.S., we have this more relative poverty than absolute abject poverty, but it's the same thing. And it's the pure and simple. It's thinking long term. It's thinking about our employees, our vendors, our customers as stakeholders in our business. And what are the win-win relationships? Not I win, you lose, but all that comes from long term thinking. And go to Google Conscious Capitalism Arizona, which we founded some years ago, to learn more.
Yeah, and I just got the call that I get to be on the committee for Conscious Capitalism Arizona. So
awesome.
I'm very excited for that.
Very good. Yes.
I'm a big proponent of do good business, local first, support your community. Everything I do is because of that. So I'm excited to be a part of that community.
Some exciting new things are coming through. They managed through pandemic. I'm still the chairman. I don't do anything. There's a leadership team that's doing pretty much everything. But as we come out and events, some exciting things are coming soon.
And do you guys do anything? Does the Tempe Tourism Office do anything with conscious capitalism?
No, we don't. But I wrote that down so I can check it out. Because really for us, obviously having a strong business community in Tempe is only going to help the hospitality industry as well. It's going to help, fill more of the hotel rooms. One of the challenges during the pandemic has been that a lot of restaurants really rely on lunchtime traffic, and they're not getting the amount of business that they would. It's not even close because so many people aren't in their offices. So, having that strong business community, having people be able to come back to their offices safely is just going to really be a game changer for us.
Oh, I think so. I think it'll help everything, stimulate it and bring it. Well, I will be hitting you up then now as on the leadership team for doing some good collaboration together.
So I think Tony and Jill Bushbacher, who's economic development, which I haven't really started talking with her about that yet, as we've been dealing with other issues, but it's between the Tempe Chamber, City of Tempe, economic development, tourism. Love to help spread the word and how we can help businesses think about the long term and business as a force for good. And as Kelly, you know where to find me. So if I can help you.
Ding, ding, ding. I have a new thing in my brain coming. That's exciting. I think working all together is good business, number one. Number two, it stimulates our economy. It forces collaboration. A lot of us are already doing that, but just putting that on the top of our brains, where in Tempe can we get something to eat? How do we tell others who can come to Arizona to visit us why Tempe? Okay, okay, good, go to the Tempe Tourism Office. Hey, by the way, if you're here, come to Mac 6, and then we can have a meeting here, and then everybody can see, Mac 6 as a place to collaborate, and then having Working Aware, be there to tell us, don't hug on the same side.
No, I think we talked about. I like the idea of having a hug policy as a hugger. It's safer than shaking hands. I think we talked about that earlier. I like that. Well, and that's silver lining too. With people were more inwardly looking at their local communities everywhere across the globe. When you're not, and even 2 years ago, my other business, my clients were national and global in scope. And with Working Aware, we've really been more focused locally first. We wanted to make sure we were helping our local community first before anything. It's where we live. It's where both my partner and I, we live in Tempe. We've been here. We raise our families in Tempe. They go to school in Tempe, and we work here. So we want to help this part of the country first. And I think that we've seen a lot of that, restaurants being supported more, and hopefully that continues, with everything.
For sure. I mean, those dollars that are spent locally, I mean, they definitely just have such a much bigger impact to the whole community. And I think that's not going to go away. That's something that all of us are going to keep doing, and make sure that we patronize those small businesses before we go to, a larger chain restaurant.
And Local First is now a
Mac 6
member,
community member, right?
Yay, that's so exciting.
Well, they still have their headquarters. That's a perfect example of they are that combination, that hybrid, and how Mac 6 can, even if a company has a building, has an office space, well, there's an opportunity to still work with you guys.
There's Local First still downtown, same office. They've got East Valley employees who, as everyone was working from home, it didn't matter where they were. But now as they're trying to work closer together, and so we are really the location for their East Valley employees who can come and work out of a place, and they can have meetings, and it is just synergy with their downtown location.
All my favorite people in one place.
Local First, they helped us develop an online marketplace for Tempe small businesses. So it could be, a House of Tricks who's selling gift cards on Local First. It could be an artist. It could be, someone has a small manufacturing, or maybe an Etsy vendor. But to be able to go to the Local First website and look up Tempe vendors and be able to purchase something from that one site is going to be really helpful going forward.
Yeah, they've done so much for the community. I'm a advocate of theirs. It is. Yep. Well, can you believe we've almost been talking an hour? I can't believe it already. Tony, tell people how they can get a hold of Tempe Tourism Office.
Sure. Our website is TempeTourism.com, and we are at Tempe Tourism on every social media channel you can possibly imagine, from Instagram to Facebook to Pinterest to TikTok.
And now we know TikTok.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Scott, tell us how people can find Mac 6.
Mac6.com, MAC6.com.
That's easy. And what about you?
WorkingAware.com, and we're at Working Aware pretty much everywhere as well. So
exciting. Thank you all so much for being on today. It was great to feel the collaboration and see potential things coming. I'm so excited for all the connections and things coming. You've been listening to Collaborative Connections radio show and podcast sponsored by KLM Consulting. KLM is a business development firm with over 18 years of award-winning business savvy. KLM helps small business and entrepreneurs through consulting, marketing, and project management services. Get more time to do the things you love and build a thriving business with the help of KLM. Tune in on the third Thursday of every month at 1 p.m. Until next time, happy connecting.